So this is the Blue Fox podcast. I have Alexander Patzell on today for the Philosopher's Stone series, and we are jumping into some philosophy, a little bit of a deep dive on the levels of the self, on the mind, and we're just going to go for it. It's a little bit of a freestyle type of podcast, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Alex, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, why not? Hello, I'm Alexander Paetzel, not Patzel. I didn't realize that was
Oh my gosh.
going to be a pronunciation. No, it's fine. It's better than somebody calling me Pastel. That always got on my nerves.
We'll take that.
I suppose I will be your resident thick Southern accent for the night. I don't really have a formal background in philosophy, so to speak. It's more of everyone has their own art. Some people draw, some people make music, some people are, artists of the mind. That's what I like to see. I like to view my mind as my canvas, and the different pieces and bits that I find in life that feel like something that I could live by, life lessons, that sort of thing. That is my paint.
I like that. That's perfect. I always tell people, like, everybody has something that drives them, and some people are like, no, I don't really have any talents. And I'm like, no, it's probably something you're doing and don't know, and you're so good at it that you just don't notice.
But exactly. Underlying talent is easily some of the best, just because it's not something you have to force yourself to think about. There's a parable, I believe, may not be from the Tao Te Ching. It might be from a different Taoist scripture, but it's a story about an archer, and he's profound. He is absolutely amazing with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And when he is just shooting, for the sake of shooting, he shoots with just magnificent prowess. But he goes to enter into a tournament where there is the knowledge that winning will get you gold. It will get you some fame, some fortune. And suddenly his natural talent becomes plagued with anxieties. What if I'm not good enough? What if I don't get the gold? What if I do win, but I don't win so hard as another person? They get the gold, and I get to walk away with a pat on the back and a pat on the head.
Yeah, the slew of overthinking.
It's a scary sort of thing to have to think about your passions, because where there is thought within passion, it becomes sort of muddied.
Right.
You get these anxieties poking up everywhere and somewhat ruining the true nature of it, the purity of it. There we go. That's the word I was looking for, purity.
Yeah. I agree. That's kind of like what a lot of people are now seeing in, like, the workforce, because they're starting to realize, like, the degrees are nice, but the confidence in the experience, whether the degree is there or not, is the key. And then how well they do with talking and presenting themselves with the confidence. I feel like the confidence is what sells to the company or the organization, or the individual just interviewing them is going to feed into that.
Yes, very much so. If you walk into what is supposed to be a first impression with someone and you don't give them something impressive, I mean, it is a first impression. It is intended to leave an impression. And if an impression is not impressive, then, I mean, you've thrown a pebble into the mud and hoped for the best.
Right.
You're really not going to get a whole lot. You need to have an idea of what you are, who you are, what you represent.
I agree.
And being very honest and forthright, not just with the people you're talking to, but with yourself.
Yes.
I could have come on to here and immediately just said, yes, my name's Alexander Paetzel, and I've got a doctorate in philosophy. I've also got a PhD in neuroscience, and I am the direct spiritual descendant of Alan Watts.
They would never know.
They would never know.
They would never know.
You can sell somebody anything, but you cannot sell yourself on everything.
That's so true. That's like one of my friends was telling me, she was getting into, like, jewelry, and, like, that was big when, like, COVID first hit and everybody's, like, doing their own businesses and starting to really branch out on their talents. But I'm like, hey, you're sitting in the house, you might as well, because I'm looking at it like there's all this time. If your talent doesn't come out with all that time sitting in the house and people sitting on their butt watching Netflix, I'm like, oh, no. But a lot of those businesses started to flourish at that time, and she she went out to a little I think it was like a festival or something they had on the beach, and she said it was the strangest thing. This lady was on the beach selling seashells and melted crayons, like these art pieces, and she was like, it looked really simple, but she was selling them for like 80, $200. Like they were pretty expensive, but
Must be some bougie
it,
crayons.
right, super bougie. It's like the Gucci and the Prada of all crayons.
It's that
But
real top shelf Grey Goose style.
oh
They're
yeah,
laced with natural incense.
yeah. But she knew it. I feel like that's what made it. She knew that she was confident enough to sell something so what seems so simple. Now, mind you, if I tried to make it, I probably couldn't just because of the attempt alone. And like that, I don't know. To her, it's probably second nature. But yeah, but that kind of ties into the way the mind works, and you're probably like me. Um, I'm a deep diver. I have to dig for some reason. There's
Yes.
always another question to the answer that's provided.
Well, it's I know it's something that you and I have talked about before, but
Hmm.
it's the idea that it's if you go into a question seeking an answer, you're seeking the easy way out.
Hmm.
If you go into a question looking for another question, you're no longer trying to solve just that question. You're trying to solve underlying questions. You're trying to
Right.
solve all the things that branch off of it. It's the idea that if you don't want that, that tree in your yard, that weed in your garden, whatever, you
Hmm.
don't just snip it off close to the ground-ish sort of and leave the roots. If you want to really be shed of a question, or in this case fully understand a question,
Hmm.
you need to get in there and find what the roots are.
Yeah, yeah.
It's something I'm not going to say preach, but sort of to a lot of people, is that the accumulation of knowledge is not a terrible thing.
Mm-mm.
It is something that a person can become very, very greedy over, and it's a dangerous thing to become greedy for knowledge,
Yeah,
because then you also become withholding of knowledge, and that just damages everyone around you. But
yeah.
knowledge is a very deep insight into a singular question. You know this question so intimately you can answer everything about that one particular thing. But if you're asked anything else, you might be completely senseless.
Oh, I like that. And I feel like
However,
if
I
Mhm.
advocate for people seeking wisdom.
Yes, yes.
You don't try to find the answer to the question, you try and find out what the question is.
Ooh, I like
You
that.
find out the makeup of the question itself, and from there you can think, well, if we carry from question one, we can find that there are directly connected several other questions,
Hmm.
but we'll go and focus on questions 1.1 through 1.5,
Baby
and we
steps.
will contemplate those things, and we will find the questions off of them, question 1.1.1 through 1.1.5, and carry on through all these different questions.
Yeah.
You essentially end up developing, instead of an understanding of a singular topic, you begin to understand the root of topics, and you can be brought into new topics that are sometimes completely irrelevant to the first one. But you understand it because you have a basis of knowledge that's not looking for how to finish the question, but more so looking to understand what the question is.
Mm. That probably explains. And I don't know about you. Me, I'm one of those people that like. I don't want to say conspiracy theorists, but I'm always questioning the stuff that like social media is out there. The internet is so readily available that like whatever you're looking for, you're gonna find something on it. But there was this post. It's been maybe last year or so. It was something about Nepal, but basically it was saying that Nepal was in a different year than what we are in, and not by like 365 days. It was like they were 10, 12 years behind us. And I was like, hold on, how is that possible? And then just with that question alone, it started to pull in the little bits and pieces that I had learned from quantum mechanics, which is a very small amount. but it started this weird craze, and I could not for the life of me stop it. It just gained so much momentum, and then I was at the point where I was like, oh my gosh, Back to the Future lied to us. Like, who the fuck wrote this? And I was like, Marty McFly, hold on, one Marty McFly is still stuck in the loop. Like, he's constantly going back to the, well, technically he went back to the past the first time, but you know what I mean. One of him is
Yes.
constantly in the same place. And then that led to a whole new, just terrifying question of, well, hang on. If he is stuck there, what would that be like to be stuck there? And where is the awareness? Like, is his awareness in the Marty McFly that's stuck? Is his awareness in the Marty McFly that's already accomplished what he was going to accomplish and is now passed on? Like, what happens? Allison, it was an uncomfortable place to be, but my mind was starting to piece together things that it had never looked at before.
It's a beautiful thing. It's literally like finding something new to be curious about, something new to try and acquire any amount of wisdom, any kind of understanding over.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're staring at a brick wall, and suddenly some of the bricks just open up like a window, like shutters on a window. They literally just open up, and you get to look at something brand new that you never expected. Because when one looks at a brick wall, you expect it to be a brick wall. It's solid. It's it's built to last. It's something that's not intended to just open and shut willy-nilly. But when you get to look inside of those sorts of things, it's so the human psyche, honestly, is a ridiculous brick wall in and of itself. Some people, most people, really, are so convinced that they are what they project themselves to be to other people that they don't stop to think who they are behind closed doors.
Yeah.
They'll let people think. Well, not even let people think. That's implying that they're dishonest. And while some people are, some people aren't, whatever. We're going to assume that the person in this example is being honest. They let people see these sides of them, and eventually it becomes this sort of convoluted circle of they see this about me, so I need to be this about me. And they don't bother to cultivate the other aspects of themselves. And they don't lose them, but they sort of repress them. Push them off to the side, and they start acting out in and of themselves. There's all the different parts of your personality are all like tiny sub-personalities in and of themselves. And if you don't pay them attention, you don't meet their needs, they will lash out. They will subconsciously undermine what your outward self is trying to do.
Yeah.
Maybe you fancy yourself to be the sort of loner entrepreneur. You want to have a house out in the country where you don't have to deal with people. You sort of own all your own things, and you make a living off of maybe having a business online, having a blog that's very popular, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that is the self that you have decided that you want to be. And there is nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to say that one person's wants to be something is wrong or right, but in this case, that sort of sense of isolationism is masked to the self as being independent.
I see what you mean.
Now, let's say that same person had the opportunity to buy a piece of land out where they wanted. Basically the idyllic piece that they want. It's out in the country. It's away from everybody. They can go out there and just be their own thing.
Yeah.
And for untold reasons, they wake up the day that they're supposed to accept that offer and basically tell the realtor to get bent. No purpose, no rhyme, no reason, no rhythm. They just decide that they wake up and they suddenly do not want the thing that they have been pressing themselves to become and exhibit to the world.
It's the question that I want to ask. I'm trying to formulate it very carefully because a lot of people freak out the way I word it. It's almost as if we are all schizophrenic because there are two beings in our bodies, and only one of them, usually, we are observing one at a time. I guess you could say.
Well, how to approach that?
It's a weird one to tiptoe around.
I would agree agree with the schizophrenia to a degree. Not trying to go at anyone that actually has schizophrenia. If you do, then my blessings, because that's
man.
a whole hell of a ride in itself.
I can only imagine.
But it's similar to the way the schizophrenia works, but on a less severe manner. Schizophrenia usually is detailed with the personalities just sort of almost like on and off switches. Like you're one person, and then you flip that switch off, and then the next switch flips on, and then that one will flip off, and the next one will flip on, and it's not quite that sudden stop. You're one person, you're another person from second to second kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a lot more of we'll dip into the verbiage that Carl Jung used, and I apologize if this gives anyone listening a headache. It may very well, because it's a whole rabbit hole. But
the mind alone is a rabbit hole. Follow the white rabbit.
The mind in and of itself is a rabbit hole. We've all got one, so unfortunately, welcome to somebody else's rabbit hole this time.
Sorry, guys.
But you have yourself, which is the entirety of your being, your whole essence. All of you is yourself.
Yeah.
Within yourself, you have lots of sort of subselves, but the predominant ones that you're going to see are your ego. Your ego being the parts of your personality that you have accepted, that you have either come to terms with, or that you openly look at and go, well, yes, that's part of me. I am this, this, and this.
Yeah.
The other side of your ego, the other side of yourself from your ego is your shadow. And while it's referred to in a singular sense, it's not really singular in and of itself. A person can have numerous shadows within themselves.
Ooh. That's
and they're often depicted as these sort of spooky figures hanging out in the dark that are just our most primal and destructive urges, and they're not. They're not inherently evil. They are the parts of you that you haven't accepted, that you haven't taken the time to try and integrate with your ego.
I always think about... Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it always makes me think of, like, the Joker. Because every time I watch, no matter what movie it is and how he is being portrayed, that one, yes, did a fantastic job, God rest his soul. But it just goes to show you how fragile the self is, because as we saw with that, he got stuck in that persona. And I think and maybe part of that comes from the suppression.
That's a very good example. I hadn't really wanted to throw it out there, but that's a very good one. The Batman to Joker analogy.
Yeah.
People are used to the Joker the way he is now, where he's depicted as being a lot darker, a lot more murderous, he's a lot more gruesome and a lot grittier than what he used to be. But at the same time,
right,
Batman used to be a very lighthearted comic before it became this super dark, gritty Batverse type thing.
Yeah, man, I stay in Marvel. DC Universe is a different ballgame.
It is.
You don't want to go to Gotham.
There's some stuff over there that just, I love it, but damn.
Right?
But the idea of Batman and Joker is Batman has the sort of moral high ground on most things, honestly. He's obviously not afraid of violence, because that's the only language that some folks speak, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what he does.
But the Joker's whole purpose is he's not trying to kill Batman, and he doesn't really care about his identity.
No.
He wants to break him. He wants him to give in to, in this case, what would be a shadow self of his. The Joker is sort of the shadow self to Bruce Wayne's ego.
Yes.
But the Joker wants to be heard, to be seen, to be felt. He wants his presence known. And he wants to make Bruce Wayne break any one of his different moral codes. He wants him to embrace the shadow side of himself.
Right.
That is his whole purpose. He kills other people, not necessarily because he wants to kill people. He kills people because he's trying to break Batman in a mental sense to get him to embrace these darker sides. He wants the Batman to come and kill him, because that would be the ultimate victory in his eyes.
Ooh, that's it.
if he dies to the Batman, then the Joker wins.
And I think it was the 2019 one that was that one was a little bit dark. Well, all of them are dark, but that one was like dark. But as I was watching, there was a scene where he had the fire. He was standing out there with a sign, and the guys took his sign and they like ran off with it, and just the guy was, it was the perfect example of kick him while he's down, But
Yes.
it was almost like his character was so gritty and so dark that he became a mirror of what he had experienced, as if to show other people, hey, this is what you have created.
The Joaquin Phoenix Joker was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That movie it felt less like it was supposed to be the Joker from Batman, which I still don't entirely know if it's supposed to be or not, because I don't know. We still don't have a Joker scheduled for Robert Pattinson, so it might be Joaquin Phoenix. It might not be. I really don't know. I kind of hope that it's not, just so that we can get a better origins. Well, not a better origin story, but a better counterpart to Pattinson's Batman, because Pattinson's Batman had very little limitations in and of itself, and the Joaquin Phoenix Joker had very few limitations in itself, and I feel like it doesn't do justice to the duality of those characters.
Right.
To have both of them be dark, gritty, semi-violent, and moody.
Yeah. Oh, man. How do you feel about Rob Pattinson, like, when he did the Batman? I kind of liked it. I'm not going to lie.
I wasn't sure how I felt. It felt very comic. For the sake of the comic, it felt accurate. It played a lot more into the investigative side. It tried to play him up less as, the Christian Bale of, I'm Batman. Like, it was less that. And more of the sort of Sherlock Holmes side of Batman, if you will. He's supposed to be the world's greatest detective, and they never do that in the movies. It's always just sort of like, oh, well, we'll stick Wayne Tech on it because I've got trillions and trillions of dollars and I can just pay somebody else to find the answers. What do I need to think for? I just go punch people and sound like a death metal singer. Like,
oh, man. Dark Tony Stark.
It basically is, yes.
Man.
He is what happens when Tony Stark is an emo kid instead of an alcoholic.
Yes. I was like, he has a different vice here. That's all. That's all it is. Man. So when we were talking about Carl Jung, I wanted to ask too, on the shadow self, why do you think so many people are scared of that? Like, you think they're scared to like just flip over like the Joker did and just one day just snap? Or is it the fact that, do you think they're more worried about what society would think of them if they were ever to snap?
A lot of it is that. We've gotten very ingrained with you need to conform, you need to be part of the herd, there's herd immunity, there's herd protection, there's, the sheeple are real.
Yes,
I
man.
hate to say it, but the sheeple are very real, and unfortunately, they hold most of the cards.
Yeah, the masses. It's so strange.
But I think there's a lot of things about the shadow self people, they don't want to accept it, and everybody's got their own reasons, and most people have all of the reasons, really. They've got all the check boxes hit. It's just a question of how boldly they hit that checkbox, how severe your particular aversion towards a part of your shadow self are, and it's going to be a different severity in each different category for each person. And then even the people who have a similar severity within a category are going to react to it differently because their ego is different from the other person. Any given comparison between people with identical singular factors is still going to be a very large pool of data to have to work with. And for that one corresponding factor, there are going to be millions of things that they just are not the same, or they are similar, but they are taken so many different ways.
Yeah, it makes me think about. Oh, go ahead.
I know a lot of people that I've met. If I discuss these sort of things, which obviously this podcast is kind of geared towards philosophy, so you can just drop the cloak a little bit and let the philosophy out. In regular conversation, you have to be a little picky about the words, otherwise people start scratching their noggins and looking confused and kind of dumb.
That's right. We'll break it down.
But I think a lot of what people have problems with in the shadow self is the fact that they have done things, or rather the shadow self has done things. It's done the things that they cannot believe are capable within them. It's done the things that they would look at themselves and say, I would never, and then they do it the next day.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
think
a
that's
lot of it,
terrifying.
I think, is accountability.
Right.
People don't want to be held accountable for their actions. So instead, they look at it and they go, oh, well, that's just the dark side of me that does things. Rather than looking at that dark side, sitting down at the table with it and saying, okay, you and I need to come to an understanding. How do you work? How are we going to work this out? We need to become one.
Right.
Because us being two is just leading to both of us getting nowhere.
Exactly. Exactly. That's a very good way to put that. And I think that I feel like there should be something in schools for that, but then again, like I said before, school is not meant for that. It's meant to create people who follow the masses. It's you ring a bell, we go to the same place, same time, do the same things every single day. It's a signal. It's just conditioning.
Yes. School has become less about education and more of a giant Pavlov machine.
Yes. Oh my
They
gosh.
they ring the bell, you run in, you get a treat.
Yes, and then you
Unfortunately,
panic when
the
you're out of
treat is
line.
that you get taught to be a good little robot and that you're supposed to be punctual and be polite and be, well, I'm not
Exactly.
saying not to be impolite, as but they just, it's a lot of school being a miniature society in and of itself, because you end up with your social hierarchies within there. You end up with, the jocks don't like the goths, don't like the cheerleaders, don't like the nerds, don't like and then you just carry to each one of the different social standings. It's almost like having tribes, and it's kind of
Yeah,
ridiculous because it does get primal in there.
it does. And
It's like a daycare prison mixture.
oh my God, you never lied. Okay, so I was late to the party on Orange is the New Black. I know it's like a super side note, super random. But when I watched that, I was like, man, this is high school with like daggers, and it was high school. That was it. They were all
I mean, hell,
competing.
depending on what high school you went to, the daggers might not have even been missing.
Hell yeah, they'll shank you in a minute. You just you're just in there.
You
Wrong
looking at my
place.
chocolate milk? Are
Right.
you?
And don't dare step on somebody's shoes. Like, oh my
Oh, hell
gosh,
no.
man. But it's
They
just
spent
like
all
so
the first
crazy.
period trying to scuff the dirt off of those from their abusive parents. Lord knows, you leave a scuff on them, they will kill you.
Oh yes, and that's a
With the
whole
shoe.
yeah right with the shoe. Oh, and that's a whole nother podcast in itself. But like, oh, we got to revisit that one, cause like looking back on high school, I realized how confusing it was to like basically witness everybody separate themselves into these little boxes. And even then I realized, like, they always say people in high school, oh, they're finding themselves, they're finding out who they are. And I was so confused because I thought finding yourself meant that you had to pick one of those. And a little bit of me was in all of them. I was the band geek, I was the dancer, I was the comedian, I was the nerd. It was all of those things. I never fit perfectly into one of them. And if you were the same way, and I'm sure many people were, it's like that's a very confusing time.
That that time period bred a lot of apathy,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't. There's a negative connotation about the word apathy. This is a complete side branch, but apathy it's actually from the Latin word apathia, which
Ah.
is to not give in to your passions. It's
Oh.
not to say that you don't have emotions. It's to say that you don't give in to passions. You don't give in to
Okay.
the thoughts that are bred from the emotions that you have in reaction to something happening to you.
Mm.
The idea that someone slanders you, someone calls you a name. Oh, you're fat. Okay, well, that was their choice to attempt to slander you.
Uh-huh.
You were not hurt.
Exactly.
You were not offended. That's the tricky thing about being offended, is that you decide when you get to be offended.
Yeah.
If someone else attempts to offend you and you say your statement means nothing to me,
Exactly.
then you haven't been offended. Don't allow yourself to become hurt, and you won't have been.
I feel like that is a practice. I always think of Cat Williams, how he was talking about. He got up there. Everybody knows Flavor Flav is like he's just his own character, and he's so much of him that it's obnoxious because the
It is. He's
yeah.
a walking meme, and he plays it so well.
That's the thing. He plays his character well, and he makes that mask, or he makes his ego something of value, no matter how ridiculous he may think it is, maybe even, or how ridiculous other people may think it is. There was something Cat Williams said, and he said he got up there and he was like, "I asked this fool." Basically, how much money he was making, and they didn't call him every name in the book, racial slurs and everything. Look, I'm kind of slurring myself. I've had some of this Captain Morgan, so hang with me. but um but
By the
basically,
way, this podcast brought to you by Captain Morgan.
yes,
Sponsors, so.
send me a check, man. Bottoms up. Yeah, but
Let me just lift my leg casually. All
right?
right, we're good.
Yes, there we go. Snap a picture. We'll put that in the notes. But yeah, Cat Williams was basically saying, he was like, I don't understand how this fool got up there and let those people do that to him. Look, and he was like, he said that he looked at him and he was pretty much just laughing his tail off. He was like, "'Cause they pay me," and he just like jogs off, just enjoy. But I'm like, yo, that man is so free. We don't even think about it. He's so free.
Yes, he has escaped one of the greatest prisons that we have ever known as humankind, which is the opinion of others.
Yeah. And same thing with like Jim Carrey. People think he's off his rocker, but I'm like, no, that guy, he's so, like, he gets it. He's already reached to what we are trying to get to. But they'll judge him so heavily. But I'm like, no, 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 you don't get it, my bro. When he got on Ellen DeGeneres and flipped his chair over, I was like, this guy is a guru. And he doesn't even know.
Yes, he is. It's weird that people try and think of the term guru, and they think of this
He's on a
this
rock.
perfect being, and he just sort of sits around, cross-legged styled, and they're meditating all the time, and the only time they ever dare to speak and interrupt the silence of nature and the way that the universe is existing is to speak these deep and profound words of wisdom that you might only ever hear once in your lifetime, and you will carry with you to your grave, thinking and trying to figure out what the meaning of that. No, that's not a guru. A
No.
guru is someone you can look at and garner something to make your life less of the prison that people have tried to design it to be.
Right. They understand it and they can utilize their material world for their freedom.
It's something that Marcus Aurelius, who, by the way, aside from being kind of a crappy ruler for Rome, he was actually an extremely, extremely insightful philosopher. The man has got some brains in him, or rather he did.
Yeah, yeah.
Being ancient Roman and all, he definitely does not anymore.
Man.
Marcus Aurelius said that he did not have a singular teacher, because a lot of people think that the idea of philosophy is something that you learn directly, almost like a lifestyle that you just, it's handed from master to student to student to student, and it doesn't quite work like that.
Right.
He said that his life was consistent of numerous teachers. His mother taught him generosity. His grandfather, on one side of his family, taught him the value of saying no and meaning it. Other people would teach him other things. He would learn from merchants that he would meet in business transactions, other political leaders. He would learn things from them. And it led to what I really feel like, if you want to grind the fruit and get down to the juice of it, philosophy to me is taking the things that you encounter and knowing what parts of them are you. There's this weird sort of interconnectivity between everybody's thought processes that within every person that you meet, you are going to find at least one positive thing and at least one thing that you can connect to. They may not be the same thing, by the way.
Yeah.
Everybody in an AA meeting has not necessarily got a positive thing you can connect with, but everybody there is still hungover. So
I think that's just it, though. It's like I try, and it's hard because there was a point in time where, which I'm sure it's the same with a lot of people, I feel like when you reach adulthood, there is a sudden spark that you get from being around certain people. And it's mostly because it's not only because you see part of yourself in them, but it's because you can take something that you don't have that they do, and you can put it on, I don't want to say put it on a pedestal, but you can kind of put it on a shelf and admire it, but you can use it. Every single person, even the person that you hate the most, there's something that they presented to you in this particular reality in order for you to advance to the next level. And some people will
Yes.
shut that out so quick, and it's so big now that I feel like it's just people are running on this robotic false sense of self that's driving their reality. And I'm like, dude, at some point in time you have to realize the whole universe isn't you. There's other people that are, they're pieces of the greater consciousness, that bigger portion, you know?
Yes, that's part of the danger of something like a manufactured mindset, which
Yes.
is something that we have a lot of nowadays, where people say, "Oh, well, I'm associated with this group," and it's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, okay, are you actually part of that belief system? Are you truly that, or is it because that is the only thing you have ever known, possibly?"
Mm-hmm.
In the case of some sheltered kids, some people who had no positive light in their life except for maybe possibly religion. We use that because that's a pretty common example,
Right.
where you have somebody come from a broken home and the only thing that they've ever really had was God, Jesus, Allah, Yahweh, whichever direction you want to go with the religious belief.
Mm-hmm.
But is that actually you, or did you just never have the opportunity to try to cultivate what is actually you? And you do need a sense of being. You do need a sense of reason in life. So you decided that you were going to use the one that is available, which,
Yeah.
desperate times, desperate measures, I understand. It's a journey in and of itself to try and figure out who you are, especially amongst a sea of other people who are going to tell you who you are.
Right.
But it is a journey that I feel like everyone should really make. There should never be something that walks into your life that you just look at and go, that is absolute.
Exactly.
Question all of it.
Everything.
Every bit. Every grain of sand on this beach, I don't care how long it takes you, look at it.
Yep. That's
Because
part of the
you will
experience.
never find the grain that is you until you find the grain that is you. And maybe it's the first one you pick up. Maybe you're really lucky with it or really good at it. There's a certain level of luck and skill in trying to find yourself, but maybe the first grain you pick up is you.
Mm.
It's probably not. You can pick it up. You can say that first grain is you.
Right.
You might be lying to yourself to do it, and now you're in the exact same boat. You've now wasted time trying to find yourself, only to lie to yourself and never find yourself in actuality. All you did was waste time.
Mm. And so
You
many
have
people
to be
do that.
honest with yourself.
Exactly. It's the journey and not the destination.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to have to break down a little bit more of the Jungian philosophy on the mind, because I'm not familiar with the depths of Carl Jung and how the levels. I know you mentioned the ego, the anima, the animus, and the persona. How do you think that plays in with like the levels of mind as far as the unconscious mind, subconscious, and the conscious mind?
Do you want to turn this into a 3-hour podcast?
I might be tiptoeing in dangerous territory. They're not ready. I'm not ready.
You said, I know this is going to be deep, and I'm like, oh, God. Oh, no, she has no idea.
We're already in the rabbit hole. How far are we going with this rabbit?
For what it's worth, the things that I know about Jungian psychology are still things that I will go back to and reread, or if it was a video, rewatch, re-listen to audio, whatever the media may have been.
Right.
I will go back and revisit things, because some of the beauty of Carl Jung's work was that it is adaptive. It is highly adaptive. And as you gain perspective on things, it is important to look. A lot of people say that you should never look back, but all that means is that mistakes that you've made in the past you are now ignoring, and if you make them again, it is entirely on you. It is your fault now.
Right? Exactly. Universe
However,
is like,
as
hey,
you
we showed
learn
you
more
this.
things, if you regularly stop for a second and say, okay, well, I have I have learned something. There has been growth. There has been some self-cultivation, some progress made in my search for self. Let me take a second. Stop moving forward. Something that people have a lot of difficulty with, and a lot of them won't admit it, is that they can't stop moving forward because society has put this emphasis on the yin aspect of you always need to be moving forward. There always needs to be forward progress, but they don't stop to think that the other side of that, the yang side of being actively progressive, there is such a thing as being passively progressive.
Yes.
You can stop and contemplate and just look at something for a moment instead of having to always move on to the next project, the next task, the next deadline, the next whatever goal it is that you're chasing at the moment. By all means, have goals. It is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
But realize that you don't have to run to meet the finish line. Sometimes you can sit there and just consider things, and you will find that the finish line is not, 200 meters out. The finish line is actually right here. You just gotta find it.
Thank you for joining me and Alex on the first portion of the Philosopher's Stone podcast. The second portion will be available only on Patreon. Thanks for listening.